Hi, it's Zofia. I'd like to talk about video game addiction today, how it works and how to deal with it. Why I chose this subject? So there are new generations that are nowadays raised by playing video games, and also we have teenagers, adults, and older adults that are still playing video games. It's a modern day recreation that some people spend more than 4 hours a day, and even 4 hours a day when we do such an activity, it changes in our brain and our behavior in some way. So, World Health Organization in 2018 acknowledged video game addiction. Actually, they called it gaming disorder. And the estimation of addicted people among general population is 1.7% to over 10%. And here I want to say that it's an estimation before the pandemic, and I think the percentage is now much higher because, as we know, during the lockdown, people got more addicted to phones, computers, and also video games, since it was a way to socialize with people when we were stuck at home. So, what is problematic gaming and healthy gaming? We shouldn't consider gaming only as problematic, that someone plays games and already is addicted to them. There's also healthy gaming, where you can, as I said earlier, socialize with people, meet new people, still have contacts with your friends from, work, your university. It's a way to de-stress and sometimes even learn some things, right? The most important thing you should ask about yourself or close one that is playing a lot is, does it impair your function? It's a kind of psychiatric way of thinking. Is it a disorder, right? Does it influence your education, your relationships, or your career in a bad way? So there are 3 phases of gaming that makes you actually addicted to it. So the first phase is you have active fun when playing. You actually have this dopamine release when playing. Dopamine as in it's a hormone of pleasure. And well, you have fun, you play with friends, you play alone, and it's generally fun, right? And the second phase is when homeostasis in your brain kicks in. I will explain this mechanism later, but in this phase you actually feel that it removes lows. So after a stressful day at work, you come back home and you play video games and you start to feel less stressed, right? But you don't have this high anymore. You don't feel as much dopamine. You don't feel this adrenaline rush, for example, when playing. But you still do it anyway, right? Because you de-stress in some way. And the third phase is a biological addiction. You start to feel trapped. You actually even still feel depressed. Well, not depressed, but you feel stressed, you feel sad, and video games don't detach you from it. You still feel those lows, but you do it anyway. You are addicted, you can't stop. Yeah. So what does gaming actually affect? It affects many circuitries in your brain and your cognition. So dopamine, learning, and triumph circuitry, and your behavior overall. And I will talk about the dopamine circuitry. So we have this area in our brain called nucleus accumbens, and it's the part where we release the dopamine. So when we play, we have then at the second stage, as I said, homeostasis phase. It's where we have this many things coming at us from the screen, and it's a lot, and our brain says, okay, that's a lot of dopamine, I can't deal with that all the time. And homeostasis is our mechanism in our organism that wants us to have a balanced brain neurochemistry. And overall in our organism we want some kind of balance. So when we get so much dopamine every day, we want to like feel it less, kinda. So there comes reduction of dopamine sensitivity. We still get the same dopamine as in the first phase, but we feel it less. We don't actually acknowledge that we have it, and it leads to dopamine exhaustion. So the level where we actually feel the pleasure is much higher. So it's much more difficult to achieve. And the dopamine exhaustion is very, very dangerous because it may lead to like false judgments about your likings, where your friends invite you somewhere, like, oh, we will do something new together, but you don't feel pleasure out of it. You think that, okay, I don't like it because I didn't like feel anything when doing this activity, but it's actually your dopamine exhaustion that doesn't let you feel so much pleasure in your life. So you just feel dull. Everyday activities, they don't bring you so much enjoyment anymore, and so on and so on. The hopeful part of it is that this addiction, video game addiction, doesn't require abstinence. It requires a reset, it requires a break, and it should last at least 2 months. That's when there will be a reset of your homeostasis level, and your brain will like get used to everyday life with not so many things coming at you from your screen. And after those 2 months, if you come back, you should just work on playing consciously, right? So what will help you in that, in this break and after this break, when you come back to gaming? Find a competing interest. You should have some alternatives to actually get a break. Because it's very hard to go cold turkey, okay, I'm not playing games anymore, and have no alternatives, right? And also the role of environment is very important. Do people support you in this? And do you have only gamers in your environment that also are addicted to it, not the healthy gamers, right? Yeah, and my recommendation is, if you want to learn more about it, like all the circuitries, how they are affected, and so on, I'd recommend Healthy Gamer GG. It's a YouTube channel. He's a psychiatrist from Harvard, and he specializes or raises awareness about parasocial relationships and also mental health of gamers, Twitch streamers that play games a lot, and so on. So if you're interested in that, I'd recommend it. And he was my inspiration for this presentation. Thank you for your attention. Here are my sources, not only from the Healthy Gamer YouTube channel, but also some scientific papers. Thank you.